Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of our EAFC 25 career mode here with Southampton. We're back today with the final episode of Season 2 as we will play out our final fixture where we are pretty much deadlocked in 10th place. We could potentially leapfrog West Ham, but it is very unlikely as we're travelling to Old Trafford to take on Manchester United, who need a win, and to hope that Chelsea lose at home to already relegated Luton Town. But we'll have a full season roundup after looking at the other leagues in Europe, the European competitions themselves, and we'll also have a look at the individual player stats for the league and the a full run through the squad hub as well. So let's jump into the game then. It is Manchester United away from home. As I say, we've not really got too much to play for other than potentially leapfrogging West Ham and jumping into 9th place. But I would like to end the season with a victory after a disappointing loss in our final home game of the season against Brentford. Come on, you Saints. Yeah, only game of today's episode, with it being the final game of the season, and I've made quite a few changes as we've got very little to play for. Lots of send-offs. We've got Jack Stevens, who will be departing. I can't remember, was it Salzburg he's going to? Jan Bednarek's joining Leicester City. Aribo's heading to Ipswich. We've got, who else is there? I think there's one or two others that will be leaving the club in the summer. Oh, Charlie Taylor at left back as well. His contract's due to expire, so it's quite a weak lineup out there with very little to play for. I'd certainly take a point to end the season without a loss, but to be honest, I'm not too fast. Solé into Fatawu. Most of our changes have come in the back line, so our front four is still very solid, and Fatawu driving forward, and Fatawu still Fatawu, brilliant run, and Onana has to get a glove on it on the stretch and turn it away. Good run by Fatawu. Dangerous ball. Archer's header off the line by Joshua Zirkzee. Then into Archer, who's onside there. And can he get away from Lindelof? He can. And Archer looks to smash it. And Onana stands up well. And, well, we've had the best 3 chances of the half. 2 saves from Onana and 1 cleared off the line. You may have seen him there, not happy with his defence. Of course, Manchester United need a win to have any chance of clinching the title. And they've been pretty subpar so far. Uh-oh, Zirkzee in behind. Is that outside? It's a penalty. Well, I tried to have a grab at him there. Then he pulls him in the penalty area. And Bruno Fernandes has the chance. And Fernandes scores. And United do put the pressure on Chelsea. I've no idea what the score is at Stamford Bridge. But as it stands, if Chelsea are failing to win, United will be crowned champions. Cheap goal to give away, and that was just a lack of pace from Charlie Taylor at left back. Well, there's just under 10 to play here. I've still no idea what the score is at Chelsea. We've not really got anything to play for, so difficult to really get the boys up for it. But yeah, it's gone a little bit dead since the United goal. They've been in control, but we've just not really been able to create anything of note. Here goes Suleimana though, and Leaf through to Evan Nilsson, and now is this our goal? Evan Nilsson, he's missed it. What a chance, and I can't believe he's not hit the target, and that is going to do it. I've no idea if that means United win the title or not. I would have expected Chelsea to win at home against Luton, who are already relegated. We do fall to back-to-back defeats to close out the season, but it was a heavily rotated side. It was a pretty poor game, to be perfectly honest, although we did have a couple of good chances in that first half. Doesn't seem like United have won the title, though the players don't seem to care, so I imagine Chelsea must have won at Stamford Bridge. And yes, Chelsea did indeed win at Stamford Bridge by 2-0, so they are crowned Premier League champions. United, with the victory, victory, 2 points behind them is Manchester City in third, and Aston Villa, who had a really good season, once again qualifying for the Champions League under Unai Emery. Liverpool made a late run to finish in fifth, qualifying for the Europa League. Arsenal in sixth and Spurs in seventh. It was really, really tight at the top of the table going for those European places. Newcastle were a few points further back with 64, West Ham 57, and then ourselves on 53, propping up the top half of the table. Wolves, Brentford, Brighton, Fulham, Everton, all pretty similar in terms of their points tally, and Crystal Palace and Leeds managed to survive towards the end of the campaign. So it is Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest and Luton Town heading back down to the Championship. And I have to say, there are one or two names that I will certainly be looking at for next year. I don't want to just focus on relegated players. We did that quite a lot last year, bringing in Leif Davis, Muric, Fatawu, Evan Nilsson. So now that we finished in mid-table, I do want to start looking at some bigger names, but there are certainly a few players at those clubs that I am interested in. And looking at the domestic cups, Arsenal beat Brighton in the League Cup after Brighton knocked out Spurs on penalties. Would have been a North London derby, but Arsenal winning the Carabao Cup and Liverpool beating Newcastle in the FA Cup, where Mansfield Town went all the way to Wembley and made a semi-final appearance, losing by a 1-0 to the Magpies. But that does mean that Spurs will qualify for the Conference League, or it should do anyway, as both cup winners finished in a European place already. And as for those European competitions, the Conference League was won by Atalanta beating Villarreal in the final. None of the English teams doing particularly well. Villa made it to the quarterfinals. In a competition that everyone thinks the English teams should be winning every year, they've not done particularly well in this save. The Europa League was won by PSV. That's a different one, beating Napoli on penalties. And Manchester City were knocked out by Napoli 4-3 on aggregate in a thrilling semi-final tie, but it's the Dutch side PSV lifting the Europa League. And as for Europe's elite, the Champions League was won by Barcelona, back on top in Europe, beating Borussia Dortmund. They've not had much luck in recent finals against Spanish opposition, losing to Real Madrid in real life, and now Barcelona in the save. But again, none of the English teams are doing particularly well. Liverpool knocked out by the eventual winners Barcelona. United knocked out by the runners-up Borussia Dortmund. But yeah, none of the English teams doing particularly well. So maybe there's a gap in the Champions League for a new English team. I'm not saying it's going to be us, but you just never know. Well, we know who's going back down to the Championship. But as for the teams coming back to the Premier League, it's Bournemouth and Leicester with an instant response, heading straight back up in first and second, and it will be Burnley the Clarets, Hull City the Tigers, Ipswich the Tractor Boys, and also Coventry City sneaking into that final playoff place. So we'll see at the beginning of the new season which of those four it is that come up to the Premier League. Well, taking a look around Europe, of course, it's PSG on top in the French league. They are 7 points clear of RC Lens, who finish in second. Last year's winners, Monaco, finishing in third, a further 8 points behind. For those interested, it was Chelsea back on top in the WSL. Of course, Arsenal managed to win it last year in the save, but Chelsea, who, I mean, I don't watch a lot of women's football, but obviously being a Chelsea fan, I know that the Chelsea women's team are very strong, so they are back on top in the WSL. As for the Bundesliga, Harry Kane finally gets his hands on that trophy as they beat Bayer Leverkusen to the title by 1 goal. That is incredible. Goal difference one better than Xavi Alonso's side after finishing level on points. Leipzig, who won it last year, 15 points behind the eventual winners, and VfB Stuttgart sneaking into the Champions League spots for next season. The Serie A this year was won by Milano FC, of course, also known as AC Milan. It was a good season for Atalanta, Conference League winners, and finishing in second place, just 3 points behind AC Milan. Inter Milan, who won it last year, finishing outside the Champions League spots in 5th place after a pretty disappointing season. The Eredivisie was once again won by Feyenoord, and undefeated as well. Look at that, 0 losses. You don't see that very often from AI clubs, but what a season for Feyenoord. PSV, who won the Europa League, finishing in 2nd, 11 points behind, and Ajax in 3rd. There was, however, a change of winners in the Liga Portugal, as Sporting pipping Porto, who won it last year, by 2 points to the title. Braga finishing above Benfica in 3rd place to qualify for the Champions League. You know I've always got to keep an eye out for my boys Braga. And it was Al Hilal once again winning the Saudi Pro League. I think I mentioned it last year. They do always seem to win it in my saves. So of all the money being thrown around in Saudi Arabia, it does seem as if Al Hilal have managed to build the best squad. And the Scottish Premiership, I know I've got a few fans of the SPL who want to see how the table ended up, and it was Celtic winning it back-to-back after they beat their massive rivals Rangers once again to the title. And as for La Liga, it was Real Madrid winning the title last year, but Barcelona back on top. So that's a league and European double for the Catalonians, and yeah, what a season for them. 4 points clear of Real Madrid. Atletico Madrid in 3rd place, and Athletic Bilbao once again qualifying for the Champions League in 4th. And we'll end on this one, the Turkish Super League. It was Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce who won it last year, but they down in 4th this time around, behind Besiktas and Trabzonspor. But it was Galatasaray who clinched the league title. What is that? 7 points clear of Trabzonspor in 2nd place. So a pretty disappointing season for Mourinho and his men. Well, as for the individual player stats, it was Alexander Isak who won the Golden Boot. He did get a couple of goals against me this season, and he was level or tied with Nicholas Jackson, with both of them playing all 38 games. So I guess that means they both would have won the Golden Boot, actually. Anthony Gordon with a good season, once again, 20 goals for him. And Johnny Burkhart for Fulham also reaching 20 with Johan Visser. Fantastic season for him, ending with 19 goals in 33 appearances. I'll run through the full list here. And I do wonder if, yes, there he is, Evan Nilsson does become our first player into the top scoring charts in 16th place with 12 goals in 38 appearances. And as for assists, well, Raheem Sterling on top, but it should really be Mo Salah who got the same amount, 10 in just 29 appearances. Richarlison for Brentford in 3rd. And Anthony Gordon, as I say, very good season for him. 20 goals and 8 assists for the Magpies. Now, I wonder if we had anyone sneaking in to the assist charts. Yes, we did. Ben Brereton Diaz, 5 in 37. And yeah, it did feel like he had a slightly better season this year, improving on his numbers, as Lavumbo also in there with 5 from relegated Sheffield United. Certainly a player I will be looking at in the summer. And as for the Golden Glove, well, it's not really too much of a surprise to see Muric at the top of the charts, but 26 in 38 is a ridiculous record, and I've just had a quick check. That does actually mean that he's beaten Petr Cech's record of 24 in a season. I don't think I've ever managed to do that in a save before. It just goes to show how good we were defensively this year. We just need to put the ball in the back of the net a little bit more consistently. Aaron Ramsdale, who won it for us last year, moving on to Chelsea, of course, did get 10 clean sheets in 30, but Muric all the way out in front with 26 in 38. What a debut season for the Kosovan. Now, before running through the official squad hub, I do just want to take a quick look at the youth academy. Matthew Hodgson, I think I am going to promote in the summer. He looks a bit funny, his player face. I'm not sure what it is. Some of them do look a bit funny. But Matthew Hodgson, now 16, I will probably look to promote him and loan him out in the summer. Potentially Shane Malcolm as well, now that he is 16 with the high potential. We just need to get these guys out on loan as soon as we can. Harris is still only 15, but 93 to 94 potential. And this lad Elliot Cole as well is another one to keep an eye out for. 92 to 94 potential. And again, at 17, I will probably look to loan him out at the beginning of next season. I just want to get these guys out and see how much growth we can get on them. Because, I mean, physically, Elliot Cole looks fantastic. He just needs a little bit of work on some of his technicals. But saying that, some of them are very, very good. So, yeah, we have got some players that I think I'm going to let go of. Jamie Oakley, we've just got better options. And I want to make sure that the Youth Academy has enough space for next season. So Hooper is also going to go. We've got quite a few good goalkeepers, so I think I'm going to let Patrick go as well. So that does free up a few positions in the Youth Academy. And as I say, Cole, Malcolm and Hodgson will all be promoted at the beginning of next season. And we'll keep the rest of these guys who are slightly younger in the academy moving forward. Right then, time to run through the squad hub. I did have a comment recently saying to sort of go through the player stats in a bit more detail. Obviously, we do go through everything towards the end of the season or after the season has ended. So yeah, here we go. Let's have a look at the player stats. Alex McCarthy, we know, is retiring at the end of the season. I will probably look to bring in a third choice keeper just for realism's sake. Most likely a free agent, as I do like to have 3 goalkeepers. But McCarthy, I don't think has played a single game in the entire save, so he will be retiring. Bazunu only played in the cups this year. I did say that he and Muric could sort of rotate in the league, but Bazunu had to sit on the bench for most of the games, only featuring in the cups, where he was pretty decent, to be fair. But Muric, 26 clean sheets in 38, up to 80 overall, and only 27, which is still pretty young for a goalkeeper, so potentially some room to continue growing. But yeah, really, really good signing from Ipswich after they were relegated at the end of last season. Charlie Taylor, not retiring, but will be leaving the club at the end of the season. Played in our 3 cup games, and we did give him a send-off in the Premier League in that final game of the season. But yeah, happy to let him walk on a free. Leif Davis, this is so frustrating, this one. Of course, handed in that transfer request. I can't remove it. I can't offer him a new deal. He played 25 of our 38 games. I know he's on the crucial squad role, but we do have to rotate and keep everyone happy. So yeah, really frustrating that he handed in a transfer request after being here for less than 6 months. He has got 3 years left on his deal, so my plan is to keep him for at least next season, and then we might have to cash in and sell him the season after. But I really enjoyed using him, and with 3 years left on his deal, I'm just going to keep him. He's going to keep growing. He's going to keep going up in market value as well. So I've got no reason to sell Leif Davis, so he can be unhappy at the club, but I'm going to keep him here for next season because I really enjoyed using him. And we've got Dennis Shirkin as well, who's a really solid backup down that left-hand side. He didn't really grow too much this year. I think it's only 1 rating that he's gone up, but he featured in 20 of our 38 Premier League games, so he did get quite a lot of football. But yeah, only up the 1 rating to 72 overall. And we've got Larios out on loan, who's 2 years younger. And his contract's up at the end of next season. But I think what I'm going to do is give him a new long-term deal when he gets back from his loan, and then look to send him out on 2 years once again. So I do think Larios is potentially a long-term successor down that left-hand side. Kai Vaughan's going to be joining Brescia. He's one of the young lads from the academy. Jack Stevens, we know, is leaving at the end of this season, heading to RB Salzburg on a free. I don't mind that too much. He only featured 3 times this season, once in the Carabao Cup and twice in the Premier League. So yeah, happy to let him go on a free, as he's not going to bring in any money. Jan Bednarek also handed in a transfer request. This one a little bit more justified, because just 5 appearances all season long when he's on the important squad role. So he's going to Leicester City for just over 4 million quid, so I don't mind that. But it does mean we're probably going to have to bring in a centre-back in the summer with Stevens and Bednarek departing. Solé, he was fantastic, played I think every single minute of the Premier League this season. I wish there was a way to check that in CM, but yeah, he played all 38 games and I don't think he missed a minute. He was absolutely solid coming in this summer from Salzburg. And funny that Jack Stevens is going there and we've got the Frenchman Solé. But yeah, really good partner for Taylor Harwood-Bellis, who up to 81 overall now. We've got a really solid centre-back partnership for the long run. 33 appearances in the Premier League, and my plan is to offer Taylor a new deal in the summer. Only 2 years left on his current contract, and at 24, as I mentioned, I think during the season, I do see him as my long-term successor for the captaincy when Kyle Walker-Peters either leaves the club or retires. Quick note on Nathan Wood, didn't play too much this season, but he is a solid, still quite young, 24 years of age, backup defender. He's on the sporadic squad role, so he never really complains about his football. And yeah, I don't mind him as a backup defender. We have got Ronnie Edwards, who's got another year out on loan at Palace, who is just 23 as well, 73 overall. And yeah, could be a decent squad player when he gets back, but still another year out on loan at the Eagles. Couple of other players here, Orr and Lawrence out on loan. As for the captain, Kyle Walker-Peters, he is now 29 years of age, so he's not really getting too much better, but he's just solid. He's the captain, you know what you're going to get from him. He's very good on the ball, good stamina, so he's available to play pretty much every game. And yeah, another solid season for him. No goals, but 1 assist. And he did feature in all but 2 of our Premier League games this season. Trey Hume, pretty good signing in the summer. He is on the important squad role, so I'm not sure. I might try and offer him a new deal next season and get him on rotation, because he has, as you can see there, he's got the thumbs down for playtime. And he has come to me a few times this year, kind of asking for games. And I am worried he might hand in a transfer request, which I don't really want, because he can play right back and left back. He's a very solid backup option to have at just 24 years of age. But he did feature 15 times in the Premier League, so a reasonable amount. But as I say, on that important squad role, he is potentially going to start asking for some more game time. Another loanee this time into the club was Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, signed in January, and he actually did a really solid job when he came in. I really enjoyed using him. 15 appearances in the Premier League. I think some of those did come for Tottenham. He definitely didn't score any goals for us, so those 3 goals, 1 in each competition, definitely came for Tottenham. But 30 years of age, as a bit of a veteran, a dressing room leader and a former Southampton man, I might potentially look to bring him back in the summer as a squad player, because as I say, I did really enjoy using him this year. Flynn Downs had a very solid season for us, and he's become a bit of a furniture in this team. In his prime at 27, up 2 ratings to 80 overall, featured in 36 of our 38 Premier League games. You can see the average rating pretty solid across the board in the Premier League. No goals and just the 1 assist, but as the DLP in this team, he's just very good at keeping things ticking over. And next to Yusuf and Diashime, what a signing he turned out to be. Him and Downs had a really good connection in that midfield. Yusuf as a slightly more defensive piece, and Flynn Downs as the sort of playmaker. So yeah, really nice connection between those two. 15 clean sheets in the 22 appearances and Diashime made. Gruev's still a pretty solid bench option. He's another, like Trey Hume, who's on the important squad role, so we may try and give him a new deal and bring that down to rotation if he'll accept that in the summer. 22 appearances in the league, most of those coming off the bench, but he is a pretty solid option to come in for Flynn Downs. Shea Charles is out on loan, I think he's back this year. I'll be honest, I'll probably look to sell him. He's never going to make it in this team. He's just not quite good enough, so yeah, will probably be sold in the summer. Brereton Diaz probably one of the areas on the pitch, especially in terms of rating, where we're a little bit weaker. But he had a really solid season for us this year. Only missed one game in the Premier League. 4 goals and 5 assists, so 9 contributions. And I do really like him on that left-hand side as an inside forward. He just sort of fits the system really nicely. So I might potentially look to upgrade him in the summer. But as I say, I really got on with him this year. And yeah, really good second season for the Chilean, improving on his numbers from season 1. Sam Edozie didn't feature too much, but I did like him when he did play. He's got really, really rapid pace. So he is an option off the bench, and he gives us something different when he does start. Only a year left on his contract, so he will most likely be getting a new deal in the summer, as I do like him as a youngster signed from Manchester City, of course. Joe Aribo, we know, is joining Ipswich. Pretty solid in our first season, but didn't feature too much this time around. Just 11 appearances in all competitions. But yeah, he's just solid across the board, Joe Aribo. You can see the stats there. He's sort of a, what's the saying? A jack of all trades, but a master of none, or whatever the bloody saying is. I don't know. I'm awful with sayings and stuff like that. But yeah, very, very solid Joe Aribo, and joining Ipswich on a free. So yeah, fair play to him. We'll see if Ipswich come back up. If not, dropping back down to the Championship. Will Smallbone signed a new deal during the season. He doesn't feature too much, just 4 appearances in all competitions, with just 2 of those coming in the Premier League. But he's a handy player to have. I did occasionally bring him on at fullback with the high stamina. He's a pretty good defender as well. So, yeah, he's a decent squad player to have. He's never going to set the world alight. And I think he is a bit unhappy with his play time at the moment. But, yeah, just a decent squad player to have who will probably stay next year. Matsuki's grown a few ratings out on loan at Real Oviedo. He is 23, so I'm not sure if he's going to make it now. But he's got some pretty solid stats. He's a little bit like Joe Aribo, just solid across the board. So another year out on loan in Spain at Oviedo, and if he continues to grow, then he could potentially come back and be a squad player. Cameron Bragg up a couple of ratings as well, a few years younger, and yeah, we'll see how he continues to develop out on loan in, I think that is Turkey. Really, really good debut year for Sem Stein, of course, signed as sort of backup and competition for Mateus Fernandes, but especially towards the end of the campaign, he did replace the Portuguese playmaker in the team. 24 years of age, really, really young still, and continues to grow and get better. You can see the average ratings in all competitions really good. 4 goals and 2 assists in the Premier League, and a really, really good pickup from FC Twente in the summer. As for Mateus Fernandes, I really don't know what's going to happen with him in the summer. 0 goals and just 2 assists in the Premier League this year. We had some big bids in January. I know there was one from Newcastle, and if big teams come calling for him again, I know he's got very high potential, but he's never really lived up to it for me, and he has sort of lost his place in the team to Stein. So there is a chance that Mateus Fernandes could leave in the summer, as he's just never really done it for me. We've got Lewis Turner, the young lad, out on loan at the Hawthorns. He's got another year down in the Championship, but yeah, growing really nicely up to 70 overall. So I hope when he comes back from his loan, he's going to be sort of mid to high 70s, and we might be able to start integrating him into the team. Suleimana as a squad player, still a decent player to have. He can play on either side. He can do a job up top as well. And on the rotation squad role, he never really complains too much about his game time. Just the 1 goal away at the London Stadium in that 4-0 thumping at West Ham. And 1 assist as well. But yeah, he's a decent squad player to have. He's absolutely rapid. So, as I said with Edozie, kind of gives us a different option to Fatawu on that side. Only a year left on his deal, but he probably will get a new one in the summer. And as for Fatawu, not the greatest of seasons for the new man, but it's difficult to judge when we're a team that just don't score many goals. He should also have another goal in the goals column. If you remember the game against Fulham that sort of bugged out and I lost the save, and yeah, we didn't get the goal. So it's actually 2 goals and 2 assists for Fatawu. He didn't have quite the impact I was hoping he would on that right hand side, but he does play really well in game. It's just the numbers aren't quite there to back it up. But you can say that about all of our attackers, just because we're a team that don't score many goals. Up a couple of ratings as well, and yeah, he'll definitely be staying for next year. We've got Sam AA and Tyler Dibbling both out on loan at Coventry City at the Rico, so maybe part of the reason why they are in the playoffs, and I'd love to see them come up to the Premier League with Sam and Tyler both on loan there. Hugh Sharp is joining Racing Club in Spain when the transfer window opens, another of the young youth academy lads. And as for our attackers, Mikel Antonio only has a year left on his contract. I think he's going to retire next season, so I'm quite happy to keep him at the club and nurse him into retirement, but I probably will look to sign a new third choice striker. Of course, Antonio was behind Cameron Archer and Evan Nilsson, the latter of whom had a really good season, 12 goals and 1 assist in the Premier League. As for Cameron Archer, he has been complaining a little bit about the lack of game time. You can see he's got the red thumbs down there on the important squad role. He's growing quite nicely up to 80 overall, but yeah, just not really a consistent goal scorer, and I've got a lot more faith in Evan Nilsson when the Brazilian starts up top. So potentially a new backup striker coming into the club next season, but we'll have to wait and see. And then finally, Don Ballard growing quite nicely on loan at Hull City, also firing them to a playoff place. And Connor Cox, I cannot wait to get this man back. Again, hoping he might be around the mid-70s when we get him back from his loan at Shamrock. He's got such a baby face, man. I love Connor Cox, and some of those physical stats are looking pretty nice with the 74 finishing as well. Really, really hope we get to see the best of Connor Cox. So yeah, that is where we will leave it for today, guys. A nice season of progression, and the team is starting to develop really nicely. Our attack is slowly getting there, I would say. Evan Nilsson certainly an improvement, and Brereton Diaz did do better this year from the left-hand side as well. Another big transfer window to come in the next episode, as I don't think there'll be quite as many changes as we saw at the beginning of this year with the full-on rebuild, but we do just need a couple of little pieces to improve the quality of the team. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed. I'll catch you for the next episode very soon. That will be out on, we'll have Friday and Saturday uploads to kick off the new season. So I hope you have enjoyed. I'll catch you for the next episode very soon. Take care and peace.